And I'm super excited be delivering this training because I feel like they're gonna come out with like a top notch.
Are you ready to become a yoga trainer? Welcome to the Yoga Trainer Fast Track.
We help experienced yoga teachers become trainers in their very own yoga teacher training school.
If you wish it was easier to have your own training, we share tips and tutorials to make your wish come true.
If you're an experienced yoga teacher, like and subscribe to get free resources so we keep making more videos. With that being said, let's get started.
I just had another guy yesterday give me a deposit. So I remember I said I was manifesting 8 and I feel like I could do more, but I'm like, I kind of just, since it is my first one and I'm nervous, I feel like it's better. Like 8 is way more than I thought because I didn't really market it much. So I'm excited.
It's nice when you do your partner work too, right?
Yes.
What I do if I'm the trainer and there's an uneven number, as the trainer, you end up becoming somebody's partner. But then as the trainer, you can't monitor what everybody else is doing. So it's nice if everybody has a partner and then you can answer questions and facilitate and walk around the room. And even if you have to do a portion of it online, you put everybody in a breakout room. As the trainer, you can hop in and out of the breakout rooms and make sure everybody's on task and if there's any questions. Whereas if you end up being the partner, it's fine. It's fine. It's just
in my training, sometimes I'll just do a group of 3 as well. It just like gives them a chance to talk to each other, and those cohorts, like the groups meeting each other, they really form great connections.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Megan, yeah, it's amazing. So you're going to actually graduate from the training online next weekend.
Well, you have two potentially 3 trainers here. What would you tell them about your experience as a student of the training?
Oh, okay. I think it's really good as I like the training. I like that it's really interactive. I think this is part that you have told people to do. I think, Rona, we talked about this earlier, but there's a lot of teaching happening throughout the training, which I think is really important, even though it's really uncomfortable, especially when you're in a new group and you feel like you don't know what you're doing. I don't know, our group, I don't know if it just worked out this way. A lot of us had like anxiety or if that's an experience that everyone has. But yeah, like on the first weekend, the second day, we had to teach sun salutations to each other. And there were a couple of people that were like, oh my gosh, I wanted to quit. Like last night I was freaking out, but they came and they did it. And then they're like, oh, it was not that bad at all. And then like it just builds as you go. So I feel like that's a really amazing part about it. Like now we're at the end and one of our activities for our exam is like pulling out a pose and teaching it. You don't know beforehand what you're going to get. And before I would have been like freaking out. And now I'm like, well, I don't know. We've taught so much, like it can't be that bad. And then also I think, like you said, like it's a base training and then you take your own experience and you add your own to it. So, you can like give information about things that you've studied on your own or, just to like get a wider knowledge base. Like obviously you're not going to teach it to the people, like if you've done myofascial or you've studied a different kind, like you're not going to teach that in your training, but you can give them a little bit of information and they can find out what else they're interested in and may want to explore after the training. So I think, as you said, kind of add your own personality to it as well. Yeah, I don't I really enjoyed it.
That is a philosophy that we adopted right from the beginning because we did a lot of studying of how to deliver trainings when we were doing the trainer lesson plans. And one of the ideas is this idea of training from the back of the room, where it's like no one wants to sit there and have someone lecture to them. Like people learn by doing. And so a lot of the activities are laid out that the students trainees come in and they learn by doing. And then the other saying that we use a lot is called use the thing to teach the thing. So like, this is a teacher training. You're going to be teaching. If you want to be a teacher, use teaching to teach people how to be teachers. And like, I remember being so frustrated once I took a Zoom workshop. When COVID first started, it was like advanced Zoom training. And I really wanted to learn about Zoom. And they did not open Zoom in the whole 3-hour workshop. And they just talked about it, but they never actually used Zoom like to teach Zoom. So it seems like really obvious, but it's surprising how often trainers forget to use the thing to teach the thing. So, yeah. So
kind of a built-in thing too, like you said, how like Claire was saying, when you need those breaks, like you do start to get, it's a lot of information in one day. And so those teaching and even the planning or talking about, they kind of become that built-in like movement break that refreshes you as well. Like it kind of, you can work it in, you can kind of plan it into the day in a certain way, I think. Or if you're feeling like you see people's heads kind of, they'll be like, okay, actually, even if you weren't going to do it for an hour, maybe put that movement break in right then, or that activity, and then adjust it as you need it, kind of thing.
And trainers, you'll see that the trainer lesson plans are broken down into like 4-hour days essentially. So you can do 4 hours, say, Friday night, and then you do the next 4-hour day on Saturday, but you do 2 of those. You can, arrange those however you want, but you don't have to follow the lesson plan exactly as it is. If you've got, reflection in the morning and then some movement, that's great. But if you're scheduling lunch and then movement, you're thinking, oh, well, we might want to flip it. So, the details of the training and how to deliver the training is all blocked out for you. But if you need to flip the times to adjust your days, or you're thinking, gosh, we weren't quite ready for movement, but the room is ready for movement, then go ahead. You take ownership of the training and make sure everybody's getting what they need, because you're right. It's not that anything is necessarily dull, but we try to make it interactive because we want it to be something that people can easily remember and recall. And we do that through experiences. And I know I was taking a teacher training once, and I overheard a woman on our lunch break talking on the phone to her husband. And she was like, yeah, it's good, but we've been sitting on the floor a long time. That's what you do, right? There's no chairs in yoga teacher training. Most people get a bolster and off you go on a mat. So you do want to get up and move. And trainers, you own the day, and you can add in your specialty, as Megan said, right? If you have a story to share, or a little bit more of a specialty training, just weave it in to what you're saying, right? You're not going to say exactly what I would say, because we have different lived experiences and different teaching journeys. So it's great. What's great about it is, every student of the course is going to have a different experience. This course is offered all over the world through you, our trainers, but every student graduating is going to have that same core, but a different experience based on how their trainer brings it to life. So even though there's going to be many trainers, you all have your specialty, and the right people will find you if you're interested in, like you said, myofascia or chakras or Ayurveda or the spirituality, right? The students
trauma informed.
Yeah, so it's really exciting.
Can I ask you guys a question about one of the exercises?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very experiential learning. So let's see which one. I'm
It's
curious
the
if Megan's done it.
It's the on the other side of the mat. So it says like students come into groups of 3 and each group stands on the mat. And then it says fill in instructions from your lead teacher here. But I didn't know what instructions what are they doing?
It's in the manual, the instructions. But Claire, do you want to talk about it? Because I know
so essentially now I haven't done this one for a long time because we've been online for so long, but essentially what they have to do, and it sounds very simple, but the giggles are worth it. They have to get themselves, so they're all standing on a mat, and they have to get themselves to the other, so to flip the mat without sort of stepping on the floor. And so they have to, hug and hold hands and hold on to each other. Megan, you're nodding. Have you done this activity? Because you're actually taking.
Megan, have you graduated from The
This
ambassador.
weekend coming is our last weekend. We have to do it online because of the restrictions. But yeah, our graduation is on the 30th.
So
Yay.
Megan's taking it with in Cornwall with our ambassador trainers, but she's from the kids yoga and the teen program as well. So how was that doing that activity?
It was really fun. Claire's right. It was a lot of, and we are all like grown women. Like most of us are 40 plus or close to it. And we were like laughing hysterically and trying to like, yeah. And it is a lot of like figuring out exactly how your movements need to work and how you have to move your body without falling over and describing it. I think we did it two ways. All of us were on one. And I think we did one where two people were on it and one person had to describe to them what they had to do to get it. So it was really good for like teaching other people, because what you say in your head, it always makes sense, but to someone
Yes.
else, it might not. Like, and so it was really good exercise for seeing how your cues for movements actually translate to other people when they try to move their bodies.
Cool.
So actually, do you even know, Mandy, what the activity is?
I didn't. That's what I was like, I don't
Oh, okay.
understand. So that's why.
Everyone's standing on the yoga mat, and then they have to flip the yoga mat to the other side, but no one's allowed to touch the floor.
Okay.
So
It's
they
like
have
one foot
they
and
have
you
to work
feel-
as a team to flip part of the mat, and no one can get off and until you've turned the mat over.
They are giving each other instructions.
Yeah, you
Okay.
just kind of let them figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah, let them figure it, and it's just a way of kind of, it's a creative learning. It's a brain break as well.
Yeah.
But I really like that. See, we always trainers always add their own personality, because I've never done it with where someone has to teach the other people to do it. So that's a fun twist.
Yeah, it was set up as a teamwork activity and also, like Aruna said, a brain break, because sometimes, I find the theory fascinating, but after 4 hours, you start to see people's head, right? Sort of
Yeah.
nodding. So, as the trainer, you can shift the energy when you need to. So it's a good way to shift the energy. And I love that it got turned into a cueing exercise and a language exercise. That's really great.
What do you feel is a fair, like, I don't really feel, I think if you own a studio and you're doing Zoom to try to like, keep your studio open, but I don't own a studio. So for charging for courses, I don't know, like, I don't feel comfortable charging the same amount as you would in person because I'm not paying the same bills. But then at the same time, there's that issue where you don't want to be undercutting other people. So I just kind of wanted to know what you guys thought for pricing on classes online, like, or how you adjust it. I don't know.
Yeah, that is a good question. I mean, it's at first I did cut the price of the training, the kids yoga training. And then after a while, it was like, okay, this is still a lot of work.
Mhm.
And so I just put it back up almost to like what it was, minus my expenses of printing manuals and stuff like that. I took out all of that. And I put it back up again. And then I offered scholarships because I know I sign up for classes. Like sometimes when I look at a class, I'm like, oh, that sounds like a good class. And then I look, it's like, $50 an hour or something. I'm just like, who can afford that?
Yeah.
So it's a tough call. I think it's kind of knowing your market, what they can afford. If you're in one area, it's going to be a different rate than
Right.
another area. What do you think, Claire?
Yeah, with the teens in particular, I've never taught it online. When everything shifted to the pandemic, I thought, I'm on the computer too much. They're on the computer too much. I kind of left it. And then we started making all these changes to the Trainer Fast Track with the 200-hour program. So I actually haven't revisited the teen program online. So what we were charging was $180 per 10-week session. So we looked around at what does it cost in our area to do gymnastics? What does it cost to do hockey? The things that the kids were doing.
Yeah.
Hockey was very expensive. Gymnastics worked out to around that same price. A regular drop-in class at most of the other studios in my area was $18 an hour. So, it's $18 times 10 gets you 180. And I thought, it's not really a drop-in class. Like, this $18 is almost like, I've had some parents call it therapy for their kids, right? We know what happens in yoga. So we thought that was good value. Asking that online, I don't know how that would translate. I mean, the content is still there, the value is still there. However, with the 200 hour, I really didn't discount it that much, because you're still showing up. You're getting the best of me and everything I know about yoga teacher training. Our program included, as long as you were enrolled in training, you were allowed to come into the drop-in classes. They were included. So obviously I don't have that anymore. So I reduced the price a little bit to reflect that. But really, the quality's there. There's no right answer, but things to consider.
I just want to say thank you guys. I feel like everything is so well put together, and I'm super excited to be delivering this training, because I feel like they're gonna come out with like a top-notch like tools in their belt. So thank you.
And Megan, I know you're looking at the teen leadership program,
Yes.
and
Yeah, so
getting
I
your
was kind of
website.
just wondering how, so everything for the 10 weeks is in one level. So I just wasn't sure. I know from the readings you do the mantra every time. There's certain things that you do every time, but then I wasn't sure how you break up the remaining things. I was just wondering if there's a way you like to do it, or if you just start with something and then kind of see how it goes, or.
Yeah, and that's the tricky part, because we actually toyed with doing trainer lesson plans for the teen program that were sort of specific for every week. And I just found in my experience teaching the teens, you never know what you're going to get. And they're all wonderful and everything, but energy wise, you never quite know what you're going to get. So the way it works, as you know, it's an 8-level program. Each level is representative of one limb of yoga. And the way that I would teach it is each level is you could do however you want, 8, 10, 12 weeks, whatever works in your area.
Okay.
I only taught the program once a week, but you could do it, twice a week, whatever you want.
Okay.
And then within each level, it comes with a workbook. So you know what to teach, but also the students. I like it because it teaches them responsibility. They need to bring their workbook with them every week. They're at that age where the brain is a little scattered sometimes. And I like that they have reflection pages. So I think there's 10 reflection pages in each booklet. And that's really great, because when people arrive early, they can start doing the reflection page. Sometimes kids get picked up late and they're just kind of hanging around. They can do the reflection pages then. And so each level does include a lesson plan, some techniques training, a mantra, a mudra, a breathing technique. And usually what ends up happening at the beginning of the 10-week session, we're spending a little bit more time in theory. And then once they learn the theory, by week 5 and so on, we're doing more of an actual, what would be like an adult yoga class. So, in the beginning, it's welcome to this module. This is the breathing technique. Let's learn it. Let's practice it. This is the mudra, And so the first couple of classes are all about learning with a little bit of movement. And then once they know all of that, by week 10, it's welcome, settle into this position with this breathing, with this mudra, set this intention, and then very quickly we're moving through the actual asana practice, more like an adult class. So each week will be a little bit different, but that's the idea. They're moving from learning to doing, or doing to being, yogis kind of thing. And then, of course, you always have time for your techniques training. Each one comes with 6 postures. So the asana class, they're going to be doing different postures, but you're doing techniques training for each of the postures. So you could do all of the postures in the first couple of lessons, or maybe you do one, like really take some time and do some solid techniques training on one posture each lesson. And that's really important with the teens. Their brains and their bodies and their muscles and their skeleton are all developing at a different rate, right? We're not fully developed yet. So I find that what is playful in the kids yoga, for me, it's 9 and under, the postures become a little bit more refined in the teen program, but we're still aware that their body is still developing and their control over their body is still developing. So it's not,
Okay.
not that most yoga is super strict on, but we're not, it's alignment based in the sense that they don't get hurt, but we know their body's still developing, their coordination's still developing. So,
Okay. So
yeah,
the lesson plan that comes with it for the asanas, you don't have to do that every time. Are you supposed to follow the same one every time, or?
really it's your program. You can do whatever you want. I typically do follow it every time. I found that teens, you mentioned the word anxiety, there's a lot of that. And honestly, coming out of this pandemic, I feel like there's going to be a lot more, particularly because we've been even more behind screens. So getting into social environments and then asking ourselves to move our body, where, our bums up in the air and things like this, downward dog. I found that with teens, the routine and the structure of knowing what comes next was something that they really liked. And my hope was that if, we always hope that our students take their yoga off the mat. So if they were doing yoga on their own, they had their workbook to look through, but they don't necessarily need it. They know that it's not a hard and fast rule that this pose follows this pose, but they could, I need some yoga right now. I can get myself through a 4 or 5 pose flow just to get to where I want to be. So that's how I did it. But again, you will have a relationship with those teens. Most of them, so like some of them will do the whole 8-level program with you. Some of them just kind of pop in when their schedule allows. You'll see them, every spring when there's no hockey or something like that. Right. So, they might not all do all 8 levels, but if they do, you really know them. It could take a couple of years to get through the whole 8-level program at 10 weeks per level, right? And that's really why we developed it, because we had teens who wanted to take yoga teacher training. And we were kind of like, the philosophy, like, are you really going to appreciate it at 12 years old? The philosophies, are you really going to embody it? So we actually built a bridge program. That was the idea behind the teen program. It's how it came to be. It was a bridge program. Take the 200-hour program and really just, slice it down, just take the highlights from it. And we put it into a teen program to bridge that gap and create like a 2 to 3 year time span where they could not lose their practice once they start high school and, have social engagements and part-time jobs. They don't lose it. They have something to work towards. And then some of them actually do continue on into teacher training because they're really well qualified, which is great. So in a long answer, you can teach it however you want, but that's how I do it.
Okay. And then, sorry, I have one more question just about the practice. So you said as the time goes on, it's less theory and more the asana practice gets longer. Do you just adjust it, like breathe longer or do the poses more times in the practice to create that longer practice? Is that the idea? Okay.
Yeah, you could absolutely do that. You could hold the postures longer. You could revisit, posture if you do warrior 2 to triangle, to a lunge. Maybe you do that again, you
right.
Just prolong it. And then if in doubt, teens, in my experience, love restorative yoga. Put them on a bolster with a blanket and they will be happy as can be if you have time to spare.
And then the other question I had was about rolling registration. So how does that work? It had mentioned something. So does that mean per level, or do you let people join in at any time? And then how do you, if they've missed previous things, does it matter or?
Yeah, so the rolling intake is actually really, really important with the teen program because there's 8 levels and 8 levels is 10 weeks. So I could only fit in, say, level 1, 2, and 3 in an academic year, right? In a calendar year, which means, you can't be doing an intake of new students every 3 years. So you let them join, each 10-week section, new people could absolutely join. And the idea is that the workbooks stand alone, right? There's an introduction to the limbs of yoga. All of them are covered in each workbook, but this happens to be the breathing technique, and this happens to be the postures we're looking at in this level. So you don't necessarily, they're not building on each other. They are really truly a circle.
Yeah.
And then the other part is usually I'll say to people, sometimes people miss the registration for the 10-week session, or they want to see if their child likes the program before they fully enroll. And that's up to your discretion as the teacher and as a business owner. Typically what I'll do up until the first, they can try the first class on the first day. And if they like it, then they can register on the second day or something. If they haven't paid, they come back and register. But by the third class, and this is just my personal opinion based on my experience, by the third class, I sort of close registration. Because again, with the anxiety, teens want to know when they walk into a room that we're saying is a safe, sacred space. There's not new faces showing up every single week. And also because within the 10 weeks, there is progression. You don't want somebody starting at week 5 or 6.
Right.
But come week 1 of level 2, no problem. People can start, or what's great is the teens want to bring their friends. So they'll do level 1, and by level 2, they'll bring 2 friends.
Yeah.
Which is really great too. So that's how I do it.